Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Dark clouds are ahead. What should REIT investors do? It's a somber tone from PM Lee's National Day speech. It's a speech that I listen to every year actually, on top of the National Day rally. So this year I think he focused on two main themes, which are geopolitical tensions and economic problems. So let's talk about it because I think the tone was somber and quite significant. So the first thing we talked about was the geopolitical concerns, and it's pretty much war, right? It's not just war in the kinetic forms, but also in trade, tech, ideology, and economic. But first, let's listen to what he said.
Our road ahead will not be easy. Around us, a storm is gathering. US-China relations are worsening with intractable issues, deep suspicions, and limited engagement between them. This is unlikely to improve anytime soon. Furthermore, miscalculations or mishaps can easily make things much worse. Russia's invasion of Ukraine also has profound implications for the world and for Singapore. First, it has set Russia, a nuclear power, bitterly against many states, especially the US and the NATO countries. The hostility is deep and will not be resolved easily.
So that was what he said, and this is the full transcript actually. And I saw a few things which are quite significant. First of all, the US-China relationships, right? And actually, it started in 2017 with the Trump's trade war and a tech war, and then it became sort of a economic war. But you can see that the PM Lee is saying this is unlikely to improve anytime soon, right? So I was hoping for some cooling of the tensions with the Biden administration, but it seems unlikely as well. So it looks like this tension is gonna continue on for quite a while, and this has implications, right, on supply chains and trade frictions. The second thing, of course, was the Russian war, right? And again, you can see that he's saying that the hostility is deep and will not be resolved easily, and this is actually very significant, especially on the NATO countries, especially Europe, right? What will Europe, EU do with the problems with gas supply? And gas supply leads to energy concerns, right, which impacts their economies. So I think in the context of everything, it means ramifications for the global economy, and actually a global recession is looking more and more likely on the cards. So I think that's the first thing that was quite important. The second thing that he talked about was, of course, the economic concerns regarding inflation and the rising rates and stuff. But of course, let's listen to what he said in actual.
The government also stands ready to do more to help Singaporeans if things worsen. But the basic reality is that international economic conditions have shifted. The world is not likely to return anytime soon to the low inflation levels and interest rates that we have enjoyed in recent decades.
Was what he said, and this was again the transcript of what he said, and again highlighting what he said. Well, I'm sure everybody realizes it's the food and energy prices rising, leading to inflation, and therefore central banks are hiking rates. But I think this is the most significant thing that he said. That the basic reality is that the international conditions have shifted. It has shifted. The world is not likely to return anytime soon. It's not going to return anytime soon. So I think there's a lot of optimism from the markets that the whole thing will be resolved soon with the central banks hiking rates. I don't think this is very realistic, because what he's saying is that it's not likely to return anytime soon to the low inflation rates and the interest rates that we've enjoyed in recent decades. Mind you, he said decades. It's very true, right? If you look at the what happened since the 1980s, since the inclusion of the China and the relaxation in the global trade tariffs, we have decades of low interest rates and low inflation, right? From these two big factors, especially the inclusion of China into the global supply chains, and now that there's tensions and there's a spike in energy prices and stuff, this low interest rates and low inflation environment that we have enjoyed in 20 years or something might be over soon. I don't think it's going to go to elevated, super elevated levels anytime soon. But I don't think we should expect interest rates of 0 again, or inflation rates of low 1% again. It's probably going to be somewhat highish or okayish inflation levels, and much normalized interest rates going forward. Because even if the Fed is going to be pausing the rate hikes in 2023, I think there should be some normalization of the balance sheet as well. So rolling off of QT and stuff. So I think this is actually the most significant thing I thought in the speech. Quite a significant point, right? It's not likely to return anytime soon to the low rates and low inflation that we've enjoyed in decades. So I think the shift in tone is very significant. So in the face of all these concerns, what should we do? I think there need to be defense and attack, like what you do in football, right? So for defense, for REITs, you should look for low gearing and high interest rate coverage ratios. So the balance sheet strength, right? Because when rates are going up, even if you fix everything, it's not really a solution, because it's a matter of time before the debts are rolled off and to refi, right? So again, the most important thing is to have a strong balance sheet, low gearing and high ICR. So for low gearing, I think you should look for something like below 38%. But I think it's getting more and more common that REITs are geared up to 40%. But I think it's still better to look for gearings below 38%. And for ICR, maybe something above 4, right? Although the common number is 2.5, but I think it's better to have a higher margin of safety and look for like a 4.0 ICR number. And for attack, right, the REIT must attack. Stability and the consistency in the DPU is not really safe enough. There must be an element of DPU growth. So you must look for DPU growth organically or inorganically. Rental reversions must be up, or they must be able to source for good acquisitions that are accretive. And some of these themes that are potentially driving DPU growth are logistics assets and also COVID recovery plays, right? So for logistics assets, the supply chain constraints is linked to demand for logistics, and we see rental rates are really going up, right? So some beneficiaries are like Mapletree Logistics Trust, MLT, Fraser's Logistics and Commercial Trust, FLCT, and Ascendas REIT, right, a REIT. So the logistic plays, especially those with strong balance sheets and good pipelines and organic rental reversions, I think these are very strong plays. And you have COVID recovery plays as well. So you have like FCT, Fraser Standard Point Trust, so a recovery in shopper traffic, right? And also recovery and return of the podium sales and stuff. Also, Keppel REIT exposure to Singapore office plays. I think you have to be careful about office plays though. In other countries, the work from home scheme might be very significant, especially in the larger countries like the US. I think work from home is not gonna stop. It's gonna continue. So I'll be quite cautious about office plays outside of Singapore. But in Singapore, I think it's a different story though, because a lot of companies are actually coming to Singapore because we are a safe haven, setting up headquarters and offices here. So I think the demand for offices in Singapore is still pretty strong. So Keppel REIT with 100% office exposure might be a very good exposure as well to this theme. So I think we need to be careful about this stuff. And these are two big things we have to think about for REIT investors in the preparation for the dark storm ahead. So we've come to the end of this video. If you like what you saw, remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment.